Thank you. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Uh, I think first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming over, especially after the Chinese New Year. What James mentioned just now, maybe some of us couldn't attend because of that period of holidays. But we have been planning this for quite some time since last year. We were thinking of how can we share our thoughts and our vision of how to make our IoT industry more vibrant. So one of the things is that can we, together work in making sure that everyone is about awareness and going to be very excited of the new technology and to get people on board, especially the idea of becoming a producer nation is much more critical than before. We have been, in the country, we have been quite some time become a consumer nation. Because this is the problem. If we become a consumer nation, what happens is that we consume a lot of things rather than we develop things. So when we consume a lot of things, the talent that we require in our job, our career, will not have this high tech value because most of us are just consumer, trying to accept things. So with that, the problem is that our salary, the engineer salary, becoming very low, and because of that, our the people, the students who enter the university becoming less and less because they feel that this is not their career, and this is what happened lah. And we are seeing a lot more when we said about the career of the future, job of the future is not YouTuber, kan? It's not TikToker, not Instagrammer. The job of the future is people like us who's doing IoT and all the IR 4.0 technologies. So when we talk about Internet of Things, there's always, we cannot run away with one of these topic, which we have been talking quite some time last year, which is the Industrial Revolution, the IR 4.0. And before I start this look into more detail, let's take a look and getting common understanding what IR 4.0 is, or what is IR 1.0, and which era that we actually in. So it's quite simple. Is the easiest way for us to understand where we are is to see how we do things. Okay. So for example, in IR 1.0, it's all about doing physical things with physical tools, with your manual things with physical tools. Okay, that is basically in the era 1.0. The era of 2.0 is when that era, we introduced electricity. So machines which have used electricity in factories, it's much easier for them to produce a lot more, in very mass customization, mass production. So that's using electrical machines. When internet is being introduced, this is the era 3.0. So that's a basic fundamental technology which must be in the era 3.0. So if you're in this era, we are 3.0. Okay, and automation also using some internet. And then, of course, when we are in the era 4.0, there's a lot of other technologies. In the industry forward that we have in 2018, so what we have launched is that the industry forward have about 9 pillars, mistaken. So that pillars comprise of AI, VR, and so on and so forth. IoT is one of them. So these technologies like IoT, AI, VR, robotics, drones, blockchain, these are all the technologies within this era of 4.0. So give an example of how, if you want to know, to gauge where we are, as simple as registration process. So as a registration process, if we are still using pen and paper, I'm still using 1.0 era. Okay. If there is a computer, is there something, a machine that can, that is 2.0. At least if you register using online, using 3.0. In the era 4.0, we use QR code lah. Did you use QR code when you register? Tak. You still ask them to jot down your name. Mana tu? jot down your name. Then I'm trying to, move towards the 4.0 by using the registration and using QR code. That's at least we are in that era. So not only that, when you receive your QR code, when you want to register, also you at least use a QR code. So in terms of payment-wise, we have moved from 1.0 to 4.0. Betul tak? So 1.0, I still using 1.0. Do you know when you are era 1.0? Pen and paper, kertas, cash, buku 35, that's 1.0. 2.0, at least you use a cash register, kan? Bayar, kad belum. Cash register je baru. Calculator. So you pergi kedai, the calculator, they ask you to calculate how many, you give RM10, they return berapa ringgit, sebagainya. Dan they keep pengiraan. That's 2.0. 3.0 is online. That's use credit card, right? So when you use credit card, that's 3.0. The 4.0 is when you use e-wallet. You have a pay, scan dan sebagainya, that's 4.0. So that's how we move towards the 4.0 era. So the same thing when we use teaching materials and all that. Teaching using just purely a whiteboard there is 1.0. Teaching using just projector like this, for me, is still 2.0. Teaching using online classes, that's 3.0. When you are teaching using a VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, that's 4.0. Okay. So that is how we try to measure ourselves where we are in Malaysia. And unfortunately, I think the readiness assessment have been done also last year. James, 2.5? 2.5. And initially we thought it's 2.7, but unfortunately it's 2.5. So we are not even 3. Because the fundamental of moving to 4, we must be at 3. So 3 is meant at least the organizations embark and embrace on internet. So a lot of machines nowadays are not connected to the internet. That's why they are still 2.0. The moment it connects to the internet, you can assume that 3.0. Okay. So I think most of you will know that what is IoT, but a lot of people have that misconception. Everything they put, anything, they say is IoT. Okay. But IoT have mainly about four components. The first one is the sensors. Anything that's initially you are using analog as the sensors, we have turned that into digital. Human have analog sensors, all the 5 sensors that we have turned into digital. Then we have connectivity. Nowadays, connectivity can be in many forms, either fixed network or mobile or wireless network. It can be a 1G, 2G, 3G. Now we have 5G. But we tend to forget that IoT also have their own network. I think you have heard about NB-IoT, Narrowband IoT, Sigfox, LoRa. These are the technologies meant for IoT because the power consumption, the distance, the coverage at the lower frequency and so on and so forth. But it's a better means for us to communicate using that kind of network. So not necessary, people will say, I need to wait 5G to launch my IoT. Tak perlu. You don't need to wait that. You can launch 5G, you can launch IoT without the 5G. Even the current 2G. Our solutions that we have now, even that, Rakib runs on 2G. Okay. And then the second part, the third part is the middleware. This is what we offer as FAVORIOT. We offer this platform. I will explain to you why it is very critical for you to create this, to have this platform in industry manner. Because normally when you are in the university, you don't use platform. Either use a Raspberry Pi, Arduino, you connect directly to your phone. You didn't take care of what middleware is all about. And the fourth component is the applications or the analytics part. The applications can be your workflow process, the data that you use, or you can use that for your insights. So you want to aggregate and get the insights. So, what kind of IoT applications can we build? It's quite simple. The way that we develop any IoT solutions is, you just take a look at your assets. If your asset is the most important thing that you want to monitor, you take the asset and connect it to the internet. I give an example. When people build something, When people build a fridge, okay, that is the product. But what's the most important thing about the product is for the manufacturer to know how the product is being used. So how do you know when the product being used? The only way that you know when people send for repair. That's the only thing. You know that the product have problems here and there. So, but the manufacturer wants to know more than just when it go back for return. You know, when it returns because of the complaint. So you want to know the product by what the product has been used for. Dia punya utilization of the product, the features of the product, which part of the product is being used. Washing machine, for example, kat mana button that dia tekan selalu. Detergent, how many times that dia kena fill in detergent, and so on and so forth, and the condition of the washing machine. So the same thing like this. If this thing is very important for you to be connected to the internet, you want to know, then you connect it. The most important part for us when we develop Rakib, we feel that the health of the person is an asset. The asset is the person itself. The health is an asset. So how do we know the asset of the person's health? We must connect the person. Through what? Through an IoT device. What device? It's a smartwatch. So a smartwatch is one of the way for you to connect to the asset. And that watch have a lot of sensors connected. To talk about the heart rate, the ECG, the blood pressure is all on the watch. So you can place the device, any connected device, anywhere, on the belt too. I give an example. I cannot, this is not censored anyway. I just want to show this. This is a device, not by us. What it does is something like this. I have a problem when I work. Sometimes I think a lot and I don't know how to focus. So how do I get a machine to inform me, Dr. Mazlan, you need to focus on your work. So this device, when you place it on my belt, kat sini, so it will read my breathing pattern. So it has an AI inside here that learns the breathing pattern. And this breathing pattern, they translate whether you are focusing on your work, or you're having calm, or you are tense. So the moment it tense, you can see on the graph the different color, and it also give a buzz, focus on your work. So that's how this thing helps me in my work, focusing on my work. So there's a lot of other things. So that is an asset, and this is the device that you need to connect to your asset. Okay. So when we build this, we feel that how can we build a solution when, because not a single organization can build this. This is one of the ecosystem that we feel that can fit in. If you take a look just now, people who design smart modules, the chipset, the modules, and then the people who design the objects, the product itself, using the modules that being designed by this group of people. Then we have the connectivity, the people who provide you the network. And then we have the platform who provide you to aggregate all the sensors. We have the system integrator who puts pieces together, and connect it and make an application, can create application, and lastly, the people who can sell this. So not one single organization are good in all of them. So you need to work with each other, people like myself have been working with Citron, my Inven, my Arduino, and also people like the universities, So these are the people who work with us on some of the device and some other applications. Okay. So the most important part after you have connect all the assets is about the data. So the data is the most important part, because IoT doesn't mean that it's only sensors. As I mentioned, IoT goes up to the whole value chain, up to the applications. So once you have collected the data, you need to do analysis of that. So we call the big 4 Vs, the volume, big or small, doesn't matter. It can come in a variety, it can come in text, video, or audio form. It can come in velocity, very fast or very slow. It can come in veracity with uncertainty. You don't know whether it's true or the data, okay? Something that you need to verify. So once this data comes in, people say that data is oil, but oil is only a black oil. You need to translate the oil into something which is much more better. You translate the black oil into raw oil, into petrol dan sebagainya, kerosene dan sebagainya. So the moment you have data which is just purely symbols, what you need to know is that you need to translate this into the who, what, where, and when, because that answers the questions of who, what, where, and when. That is what we call information. IT is all about that. So information technology, the moment you go up, that can answer the questions of how, then it becomes knowledge technology at that level. The higher you go up is the questions of why. So now you know why. For example, why today we only have 20 people out of 30 people who registered. That's something we need to know. Kena track lah. Then we can track who, what, where, and when we send information, how we track these people, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the questions of why my items that being ordered from Lazada arrive in 30 days. If you want to answer the questions, how can we expedite the whole process? You have to know the who sent it, what is the things, where it sends it from, and when it sends it. So this information is where all your sensors comes in. So your sensors about the ID tracking, the sensors about GPS on location, the sensors about location, when, whatever information that you want to, must be built into this information. So people will pay at the higher portion. The moment you can answer the question of why, organization will pay you a lot more. You give me data saja, it doesn't mean anything. I don't want to see graph. I want to have answers. So parking, for example, when we build parking, having a sensors, katakan yang dekat luar tu, ferromagnetic sensors, that you can put on the ground, it will sense the magnetic, the iron of the car kat bawah tu is on or off. 0 or 1 is just meant empty or full. Does it mean anything? Yes, maybe it will know whether the parking is full or not. But who parked at that particular lot? Do you capture that? What kind of vehicle? Do you know it's a car, it's a lorry, or motorcycle? Where is the empty parking lot? Do you know the location? And when is the peak period? So that is the information that you want. And this information is much more useful to answer the questions of how can I implement a tiered parking mechanism? When is the peak period? What kind of car? Is it lorry ke kereta ke motor dan sebagainya? Where exactly it happens? Okay. So then you can also charge them lah, how to find overstayed vehicle. Automatically you know dia tak bayar parking, then you charge them. But for the parking operator, it's more important for them to know my parking utilization. My competitor is just beside me. He have 90% utilization, mine is 10%. Why? I'm not sure. So you have to find the answers. Is it because, I don't know, maybe dia kat sebelah situ ada sale ke? I'm not sure. Maybe dia ada something else in the build. So you need to understand the situation to answer the question of why my parking utilization is 10% lower than my competitor. So this is how you build a simple app that can sense the availability, and then you have an app that tells you the location, the parking operator know the utilization, and the people will find ways to pay on parking at the peak period or the non-peak period. But sometimes kita kadang-kadang, if you don't know, if you must be in the domain area, or we have to talk to the customer. Sometimes we feel that why can't, you pernah imagine tak, why can't a shopping mall, selalunya bila you enter the shopping mall, dia ada tulis vacant, tapi dah sampai situ lah, baru nampak kan. Why can't that vacancy itu on your mobile app first, before you sampai? Do you think there's a better? For the consumer, better lah, because I will know before I go to garden ke, to any places, you will know exactly whether the car park is full or not kan. But when we talk to the shopping mall operator, dia kata tak nak, I don't want that. Because if I tell you much earlier that the parking is full, you will not come. So they don't want that. So there are things that we thought is convenient for the user, but it's not meant for that. So they want you to be there. You dah masuk kereta baru you can see that you can't make a choice. Okay, they want more traffic to be in the shopping mall. So what we do is that, How do we collect the data? You can come from many sensors, and you can have actuators to control that. You must have using internet, whatever networks that you want to use. But then you also have a platform to aggregate the sensors. And from there, we can allow people to create their own applications. Okay, so that's a typical IoT solutions in the industry. And the best part is that the moment you have a lot of data from different sources, from different applications, you can blend the data together. Blending means that if I want to create an application that comprise of you have data from home, you have data from waste, you have data from health, and data from transport. So what happens is that if you have this information and you tell us, hey, my house, no one's take my rubbish. That's a big problem. And that causes a lot of health issues. And these health issues, kalau you have people who are sick, you can send information to the hospital will send the transport, and so on and so forth. So they blend all this data together into one single solution. But you need to connect all of them. And to connect all of them, you must have a platform. That's why I said a platform is required. Otherwise, it goes into different silo of your data. So this platform, I think, will be detailed by Dr. Gopi. He will explain to you how you can use the platform. Okay? So the platform have all the logic or the modules that can easily handle the devices for device management and can easily give you application for you to create. And they can add the open API for you to create applications. So Dr. Gopi will be there. So what we are saying is that, can we help the whole ecosystem? So now currently we have been offering this. Now, Alhamdulillah, we have reached about nearly 2,600 people, developers, around 94 countries around the world. 80% of them are Malaysians, so developers, who use the platform to create their own solutions. So when they subscribe, you also don't know what applications that they use. But we would like to work with you. If you have applications that you build on top of our platform, we can share this, our success story. So that you can promote yourself. We also can promote you on your product and solution. Sometimes we got people from the industry and ask us who actually did this program, who actually did this product. Can we work with them? So if the universities are interested in that, it's a good place for you to publicize and promote your students lah, their capability. So they can get jobs much easier. Kalau you hantar CV pun bagus juga. So we can put that together, that these are the people who develop these solutions. And they can easily find jobs in the industry. So we are matching them from the industry. So we want to create as many developers out there. Okay. Do I have time? Okay. So that's the idea. So when we started off our journey nearly 2.5 years back, nearly 3 years. I think bulan April ni we are 3 years. We are thinking of creating an ecosystem, a generation IoT, Gen IoT. Not generation X or Y or Z, but generation IoT who doesn't have, tak kira, the age can be a young or old people. Okay, I have the young people, I have the older one, so we are mixed together. Okay, okay. So we call this. So now we are trying to promote this. So that is what we call in Facebook. We have Jom Pakai IoT. Please join the Facebook. I think some of you have joined this. Share your success story there. Share your passion. And I also talk about a lot more about IoT, sometimes Facebook Live, on YouTube, and now it's on Spotify and all other podcast punya ni lah. So you can take a look at that. Can share this information. So we want to spread the word, get people on board, create the whole ecosystem. IR 4.0 in Malaysia will not be realized if we ourselves are not able to create the talents. So the talent is the most important part now. We have been creating awareness for so long. 2014 is the time when Malaysians start to Google IoT. We cannot start to Google IoT until 2020, 2030. We need to do something. So we need to show our strength to the world. And I've seen a lot of our young people who have created, but they don't have means, a platform to showcase their products. Okay. So I think with that, I'd like to say thank you. If you have any questions, please key into the Slido so that we can answer that later, or maybe we just open up later lah after the presentation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Madran, for the inspiring speech, as always.